Okay, so continuing from what we have seen in the last lecture, let us now try to see how to draw a section through a beam. So let us take the example of PB3, which is spanning between column C1 and C3. So for that, let us first start with the column. Let this line represent the left face of the column. The column is 300 wide, 230 wide. So let me draw it as 230. Then you know that the distance between the face of C1 to the face of C3 is 3 meters. So let me draw 3 meters. And then again there will be a column which is column number C3, which is going to be again 230. Now on top of that, let us draw the beam. So let us now assume the size of the beam to be 450 mm in depth. Because nothing has been given to you, we will have to assume this size. So I will draw a beam of 450 depth here. So now what we have is a beam which is spanning between these two columns. Now this column is going to continue further. So let me just continue these lines above. And later on, what we can do is we can get rid of these lines. And then let us draw a partial section through the beam column. So we'll just draw this much only and show a continuation line above and also a continuation line below. So this is showing us the section through the beam. At the bottom of the beam, we can also draw the foundation, which we will try to draw later on, but maybe it is not necessary to be drawn here because what they have asked is the section through the beam column. So let us draw a continuation line. So you already know how to draw the continuation line. So it will be something like this. Now let us try to draw the reinforcement inside the beam. So to do that, let us try to draw the reinforcement at the bottom of the beam. So you know that the main reinforcement in the beam is going to be there at the bottom. So because nothing is given to you, you have to assume certain number of bars. So we'll draw one bar which is going to be at the bottom. Now one important point to note here is that when you are drawing the reinforcement in the beam bar is taken up like this, up to its full depth within the column for getting the necessary development length. We also leave certain distance from the bottom of the beam as a cover. Similarly, you will see that the top bar of the bottom, which is called as the anchor bar, that is going to be drawn somewhere here. This bar is also going to be bent down like this, and same way here, and that is going to be for purposes of again getting the necessary development length. So this is something which is important to note, that we have to draw both these bars like this, bent up to the depth of the full depth of the section. Now what else will you see inside the beam? You know that the beam has got stirrups. So let us try to draw the stirrups now inside the beam. So one important point of the stirrups is they start at the support. They will not go beyond this point. They will start at the support. And if you look at the stirrups, they will be closely spaced near the support because the stirrups are important from the point of resisting shear. And then as you go away from the support, they will be much more widely spaced. So you need not worry too much about the spacing, but what has to be seen clearly is that there is going to be additional, these should be seen as closely spaced and these should be seen as widely spaced. So let us say that on both sides of this we will be drawing this. So this is how the stirrups in the beam will look like, closely spaced near the support and slightly widely spaced in the center. Now remember that because this is a section, you are going to see all these lines as thick lines. So show them as such lines in section. And now what is going to be important here is going to be the labeling of different things. But before we do that, let us try to show the reinforcement in the column. Now remember one important thing, that in the column also there is going to be main reinforcement. So that main reinforcement in the column would be, after leaving some cover, you will be having the main reinforcement in the column. Similarly, the main reinforcement in the column will be seen on the other side, like so. And connecting these bars would be horizontal bars, which will be called as the links. So you can see that these links will be drawn here. Now remember one important thing, that the links will pass through and through, that is, they will pass through the depth of the beam, and therefore you have to show the links within the beam also. So this is how we will be showing the links in the column. The same thing you can repeat on the other side. So remember that the links will pass through the depth of the beam, and these are the column links, and this is the cover to the reinforcement in the column. So now what is left is going to be the labeling of these parts. Now there is also a possibility that if the beam has got more than 2 bars at the bottom, maybe a bar would be, the central bar or central 2 bars would be curtail bars. So if you want to show, you can also show a curtail bar here in such a way that it is roughly around 0.7 L. 0.7 L means that is the 70% of this distance. So let us say that we have got, let us assume that there is some distance here, and on top of this we will be drawing the curtail bar. somewhat like this. So this is going to be called as a curtail bar, and we can show it like this. Just for the sake of labeling, there may be a curtail bar, there may not be a curtail bar, depending upon the beam size, the loading on the beam and so on. But because we want to show as much labeling as possible, or as much information that you know, it is better that you draw a curtail bar. And this curtail bar will be roughly around 70% of the length, or 0.7 L. Just draw it above the reinforcement. We draw it above the reinforcement because we want to show it separate from the main reinforcement. Actually, it could be in the same line as this reinforcement. You know that. So now let us try to label these different parts. So what will be the first thing that you will label? So let us say that the first top bars which we are going to have, those are going to be called as the anchor bars. Anchor bars or anchor reinforcement. Let us try to slightly reduce the size of this. So these are going to be anchor bars which will be at the top bars of the beam. So likewise show them and clearly with the arrow indicate what you are specifying. So let me just go to the arrow size and let me just change it a little bit. So this is going to be your anchor bars at the top. We just put it in a different layer. So you will be doing all this lettering. It is important that all this lettering has to be shown. Now, as I told you earlier, it is possible that you may not get sufficient time to draw all the guidelines and everything while doing the lettering. So you can just do it freehand in the exam. But what is important is going to be that you have to write everything in the paper. So all information that you have, you should write. Now what will you write here? This will be the main reinforcement. Main reinforcement in beam, and you can indicate it so. Similarly, on top, you can write this as curtail bar or curtail reinforcement. So indicate it like that. Be careful where your arrows are going to be there. So show the arrows properly, main reinforcement, curtail reinforcement. Then whatever you are showing here, you can mention it as stirrups. But while writing about stirrups, you can write a little bit of explanation like this, that stirrups closely spaced near support as shear is maximum at the support. So like that, a little bit of explanatory note you can say. So that would be an additional plus point which you can have. So like that, you can do it like this and just indicate and then You can indicate it like this. So that it will be clear what you are trying to say. Stirrups closely spaced near support as shear is maximum at the support. Then you can write here also some explanation. What you will write here is top and bottom bars bent up to full depth of beam to get necessary development length. See, this is very important that you write these explanations, because when you write these explanations along with the sketch, you will get more marks. So as I said, that it need not be written in very nice guidelines and all that, but what is important is you can write it freehand, but try to write as much knowledge as you have, try to write it here. Don't forget to do the labeling wherever you feel that it is important. For example, here now you can write mean reinforcement in column. Okay, and indicate it so. In the same way, you can write here links and indicate the links like we had indicated the stirrups. So like that. So this will be the way that you will write, and then don't mention to show the give the title. So like we had the title here, you can say section BB. And indicate from where you have taken section. You can indicate it on the plan itself. So because you have taken a section through the columns and through the beam, you can clearly indicate it like this, that this is your section line. You can write it here as section BB, which is passing through the columns. So don't forget to draw the section line. As I said, some of the things can be drawn freehand when you are making the drawing. So this is how you will indicate the second part of the third part of the question, where they have asked you to draw a section through the beam and column. Now important point to note is that here, because this is PB3, try to give the same reference here by writing PB3 here. And because you know that these columns are C1 and C3, don't forget to write the reference of these columns here. So you can see that this is C1 and this is C3. So the minute that you give some references, it becomes very clear from where the section has passed or what you are talking about. So section BB, and you can write here below this through beam and column. So that is what they are expecting you to draw in part 3 of the question. So give the title like this. Again, don't worry too much about guidelines because you will get not so much time in the exam. You can quickly write the titles, but don't forget to write the labels everywhere. This is very important that you, whatever information you have, you try to indicate it in the drawing and do the cross-referencing like we have done here. So indicate which is which member which is being seen here. So I hope this should be clear to you how to draw the part 3 of this. So we'll see again how to draw part 2, that is the section through the footing and column, in the next video. Thank you.